So in this video, we're going to discuss, is Mark Rober's Hackpack worth $400? And after my daughter just spent the last 12 months doing all 6 builds, I think I have a pretty good idea what the answer to that question is. The reality though, it really depends on why you're buying it. And for me, I think there are potentially 4 reasons why somebody would buy the Hackpack. Number 1 is you want your kids to be exposed to physics and engineering topics that you perhaps don't feel comfortable teaching them.
And learn step by step the kinds of engineering skills that...
Number 2 is you want your kid to be exposed to coding and computer programming.
Check out the web-based coding module where you can plug in your robot brain and make any of these updates.
Number 3 is you might buy this kit because you actually want your kid to learn how to computer program and write their own code.
So if you've always wanted to learn to code, this is for you.
And number 4 is you love all things Mark Rober and you want to support him because these builds seem fun and you think you or your kids are going to have a good time doing them. So to answer the question is it worth $400?
It's complicated. It's very complicated.
For a sneak preview, after my daughter's done all the builds, I can tell you it does 2 of those things exceptionally well. One of those things pretty well, and the other one, it's kind of complicated, and I'll get into that. The first scenario I'm going to address is by far the easiest one, and that's the one where you want to buy it because you want to support Mark Rober, you love all things Mark Rober, and you want something for you or perhaps your kids to do that you know is just going to be fun, and of course you might learn something along the way. That's the easiest one to answer. My daughter sincerely enjoyed her time with each of the builds. Over the last year, my daughter has built sand gardens, laser guns, label makers, domino robots. Well, she kind of built the domino robot, and I'll get back to that problem in a minute. And she's already said that despite some of the limitations that we experienced in year 1 that I'll explain to you, she's already expressed interest in continuing on to year 2. So was it fun? Was it entertaining? Absolutely. So let's move on to the next scenario. The next scenario is you want to buy this because you want your kids to be exposed to physics and engineering topics that you perhaps don't feel comfortable teaching. This is the scenario that I alluded to at the beginning of the video. This is the one that it does really well. Each box introduces a different engineering, physics, or mathematics concept. For the sand garden, for example, one of the concepts was polar coordinates. Mark Rober does an amazing job of introducing these complex concepts, but the educational process is somewhat different in Hackpack than it is with Crunch Labs. If you watched my Crunch Labs review, you'll know that I said the video engagement is one of the most amazing things for the entire product. Mark is there from beginning to end, and it's clear to see how great an educator he is. His passion and enthusiasm during these videos is without question. The problem with Hackpack, however, is while Mark introduces some of these concepts, once the introduction is over, he brings some of his, other employees to get into the nuts and bolts of things. And this is where Hackpack kind of separates itself for the negative, unfortunately, compared to Crunch Labs. I'm going to show you about a 10-second clip of Mark Rober introducing the concept of polar coordinates. Take note of everything from the energy in his voice to the cadence, and then I'm going to show you 10 seconds from the employee that comes on later, and you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. 10 seconds on the clock now.
I could use Cartesian coordinates, which is like x, y, and I could say it's 1 unit over and 3 units up. But that's kind of a pain as this...
Now let me show you 10 seconds from his employee that's going to talk in further detail about the polar coordinates. And I'm going to show that right now.
Beautiful thing. Take it away, Evan.
Hi. The LED bar actually consists of 3 LEDs in each of these packages. As the rack and pinion rotate relative to each other, the radius creates colorful animations. You can even
I think you get the point. I don't mean any disrespect to the person in this video. He's probably super funny, maybe even the life of the party. You can clearly see his energy is just different from Mark Rober's. It does seem a little bit painful. Before we talk about the coding experience, let's talk about the Hackpack build quality and their customer service. The overall build quality, I would say, is, for $400 you want it to be perfect, and I would say it's not bad. For example, on the turret gun, I guess the servo motors, it never really seemed to turn as fluid as it did in some of their promotional videos. I later found out due to some random YouTube video that they actually made upgrades to it after it was sent out. I don't know what version I got. It was just after it was put together, the rotation of it just seemed a little bit clunky. But I thought maybe my daughter just rushed the build, and I wasn't going to hate on it too much until the domino machine came through and one of the servo motors just wasn't working at all. And here's where the customer service experience comes in. You can see on this email, I emailed them on August 2nd. Wow, I didn't realize I wrote it at 2:47 a.m. I was working late that night. I got an automatic response within a matter of minutes, and about 13 hours later, I got a real human response saying they were going to send me a replacement servo, no questions asked. 8 days went by and we never got it, and kudos to Crunch Lab because they did reach out saying it's currently in transit and they will continue to monitor it. But another week went by and I never received it, so I emailed them back. They said, do you have an estimated delivery date by chance? 5 days later, they said we should have gotten it by now. now. Apparently something happened with their tracking, and they said they would send another one. Fortunately, we did get it on September 7th. It was essentially 5 weeks after our initial request. And that's not really that big of a deal, but the problem was basically by the time we got the replacement part, her next build had come in the mail and she kind of moved on to the next build. I'm not actually 100% sure she went back and got the Domino robot working. Now these are very complex and technical builds, and you're building them from scratch with the pieces that they sent you. So of course there's probably going to be some quality control issues and supply chain issues notwithstanding. At least it's nice to know that if you do have a problem, their customer service is going to do what they can to kind of help you fix it. It may take some time, but it will happen. Okay, on to the third scenario. You want your child to be exposed to computer programming and coding. It does this flawlessly. Of course, with each one of these builds, they're going to be exposed to computer programming and coding. Each one has different codes, and just to get these builds running, it's impossible not to be exposed with programming and coding. So if that's your goal, coding exposure, boom, highly recommend, you're done. Hackpack easily achieves that goal. Now going on to the fourth scenario, if you want your kid to actually be able to learn to code.
So if you've always wanted to learn to code, this is for you.
But here it's more nuanced. And I was hoping that my daughter will be able to take this and she's off to the races. That's not really the case. While you're definitely exposed to coding, learning to code from the ground up is a little bit of a stretch in this. And let me give you a specific example with what I mean with the label maker. Using the label maker, it can be a little bit cumbersome to go all the way up and down one digit at a time using the joystick. So I thought it would be cool if we tried to program it to where if we input a symbol like an exclamation mark or an ampersand, it would write in a predetermined word like a name or something like that. Now since my daughter and I don't know how to code whatsoever, we don't even know where to begin with that. But what Hackpack offers is the ability to interact with Mark Robot to help teach you
questions, as well as an AI chatbot named Mark Robot that will check your code for you.
So I took my question or my idea to Mark Robot and typed it in just as I said here. And the incredible thing is it actually understood exactly what I was trying to do and essentially gave me a snippet of code that would do what I wanted it to do. The problem is every time I put the new snippet of code that Mark Robot gave me into the actual code, it wouldn't work. And because I don't have a foundation of coding, I don't know where to put it. I would ask Mark Robot where to put it. He would tell me to put it into the loop, and I would go back, I would put it in the loop. I didn't know where the loop was. I would ask him to explain it to me. And at some point he just kind of gave me the hands up emoji. So the AI Mark Robot was really good at understanding what I wanted to do, but it still couldn't help me implement those changes without me getting an error message. Now the second thing that Hackpack offers, of course, is this community of people where you can go and ask for help.
It's a community where you can post questions.
Now that's great for an adult, but for a 14-year-old girl, and I'm sure there's moderators in there, but so for better or for worse, and you can agree or disagree, but we basically severely limit our kids' interaction on social media, and I'm not going to send them out there on Discord alone. So there is a scenario where I think purchasing Hackpack is of course a great idea. If you have a child that's also doing some type of Skillshare course or potentially already has like a little minimal basic foundation of coding, or also while simultaneously taking like an intro to computer programming course, I think that's the perfect scenario. Anyway, I hope this video helps, and I'll see you next time.